on a night where they promised us the biggest WrestleMania main event of all time. It didn't live up to the hype. Hey everybody, SonGoshuaku here, and welcome to my WWE WrestleMania 38 Sunday review. And so the show starts off in a very emotional way when the game, Triple H, comes out to the ring to a huge ovation. And if you have been following Triple H with his heart condition, you understand how emotional this had to be for him to be able to stand out there and go ahead one last time and do the whole water spitting and the game pose. It was really awesome to see. Overall, it was great. Like I said, Triple H is one of the all-time greats, one of my all-time favorites. I think one of the best heels, honestly, in professional wrestling history, only second to Vince McMahon, but in terms of an in-ring performer, the all-time best in WWE. And Triple H went out there and said thank you to the audience, put his boots in the ring, and kicked off WrestleMania 38. A very nice send-off for the King of Kings. And truly, Triple H, thank you for so many great memories over the years. So the first match kicks off with RK Bro defending the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships against the Street Profits and against Alpha Academy. So this tag team match started off really hot. All three teams had time to shine. It was great. I saw this match on Monday Night Raw actually, and I thought it was pretty good, and I knew when they did the match again here at Mania, they were going to tear the house down, and it's not too many oftentimes that I'm crazy about rematches in WWE, but yeah, hats off to these three teams. There was a lot of great cool spots, especially Montez Ford, who is an athletic freak, being able to just jump right over the turnbuckle the way he did and land on his feet. The frog splash, like I say, no doubt Eddie Guerrero would be so proud. Just really great action here, and then the ending sequence too as well was really awesome. So Riddle jumps on the top rope right next to Montez Ford and delivers a jump spring RKO, and then right after that, Chad Gable jumps from the top rope and Randy Orton catches him with an RKO for the 1, 2, 3. RK Bro retains the Raw Tag Team Championships. And in the end, the Street Profits are protected, and I actually thought the Street Profits was going to turn heel, but they didn't. They actually came into the ring and they celebrated with the red Solo Cups, and before they could make a toast, they actually invite Gable Steveson into the ring. And of course, Gable Steveson, he won the 2022 Olympics as well as just becoming a two-time NCAA champion. So they get into the ring for the toast, and out of nowhere, Chad Gable comes out and smacks the red Solo Cup out of his hand. And this is the part where you're like, ooh, you effed up, and everyone gets up the ring and they're like, oh snap, you done effed up now. And you have Chad Gable telling Gable Steveson that shoosh and all that stuff that he does, and Gable Steveson rips off his shirt and gives Chad Gable a nice overhead suplex, and the crowd erupts. So really awesome moment for Gable Steveson. It's interesting, he had the microphone at one point, and I was like, oh, we're gonna see what type of charisma and what type of promos he can cut, but they didn't go that far. However, once again, great moment for him and great match to open things up. Next up, we had the almighty Bobby Lashley versus Omos. This was something that was really cool. If any of you are fans of 1980s / early 90s wrestling, this is like one of those matches. You have the two titans going at it, you know, the irresistible force meeting the irremovable object. That's the famous line from Gorilla Monsoon. And this is what it was like here. So Omos pretty much was dominating a good chunk of this match, but Bobby Lashley ends up getting him with a few spears, basically. 1, 2, 3, Bobby Lashley wins, which I was actually surprised at, because I thought they were pushing Omos so hard that they were going to go ahead and maybe have MVP screw over Bobby Lashley, but that was not the case, and I think it was the right move. You could tell the fans are greatly behind Bobby Lashley. We've all had so much respect wanting to see him finally get put into this main event spot here. And as far as Omos, while I do think he brings something different in terms of the landscape to WWE, it's clear that he still has has a lot of work left to do in the ring. You know, yeah, he's big and everything, but if you look like someone like, for example, Paul White, who we know as the Big Show, he was a really tall 7-foot dude, big dude, that, well, he could go in the ring. He was very athletically gifted in the ring, and you saw that in his matches throughout WCW and WWE. So there's definitely a lot more development that needs to happen for Omos, and this match definitely showed his limitations as Bobby Lashley had to carry him, and Bobby did a fine job making him look like $1 million. However, in the end, yeah, I believe the right person went over.
And with the combination of MVP now, which they did go ahead indeed add on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, with MVP serving as the mouthpiece and Omos doing his thing in the ring, that can definitely make up for the limitations that he have and make for a great combination that takes him to the next level.
Next up, we had Johnny Knoxville of Jackass versus Sami Zayn. And I gotta be honest with you, this match, it was the dangest thing I've ever seen at WrestleMania. It was a comedy match, and I knew there would be shenanigans in there, but they brought everything out. If you watched Jackass back in the day, I used to watch it with my brother back on MTV back in, like, you guys remember those eras, the 90s and early 2000s of MTV good times. They brought out all the classic stuff you would see in Jackass, you know, from the big giant swinging hand to even having mouse traps planted on tables. You had the Jackass crew get involved at certain parts of the match. Even Wee Man, he probably got the biggest ovation out of everybody in this entire thing. He beat up Sami Zayn and even gave him a scoop slam. And Pat McAfee and Michael Cole, they were losing it on commentary. I'll admit, the match was funny. It had its entertaining moments. It went pretty long, so I was hoping nobody was going to get their match cut short, which it looks like that wasn't the case. In the end, Johnny Knoxville used this big giant mouse trap to go ahead and pin Sami Zayn, and that was it. And that's typical. You usually have the celebrities go over the wrestlers on WrestleMania, but overall, like I said, it was an entertaining match, and Sami Zayn ended up getting yet another year where he gets a WrestleMania moment. He's been really heavily featured, if you think now, ever since the start of the new decade for the 2020s. So I hope Sami Zayn continues to get more WrestleMania moments. Next up, for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, we had Queen Zelina and Carmella defending the titles against Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Shayna Baszler and Natalya versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. While I'll give the women a ton of credit in terms of the matches they were having on SmackDown leading up to this, I really wasn't feeling the build-up. Matches were good, but the build-up in the story with Carmella being distracted by her fiance Corey Graves and not being focused on the Tag Team Championship match ahead, just really wasn't feeling the storyline. Despite a lot of these women being very talented in the ring, it's like they just basically made these makeshift tag teams. In terms of entrances, I thought Sasha Banks' entrance was awesome. Naomi always has a fantastic entrance, and it was really cool seeing the Batman / Catwoman theme outfits / entrances for Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. But in terms of the match itself, the women worked very hard. They tried, but it just, something about the match didn't seem right. It was cool to see certain parts here or there, but the biggest thing that this match had going forward was that Sasha Banks finally, after all these years, wins a WrestleMania match as she picked up the win so that her and Naomi can become the WWE Tag Team Women's Champions. And honestly, I don't have much faith when you look at the way the Women's Tag Team Championships have been booked by the WWE. How can one have much faith in this company? However, I will say the last time Sasha Banks was a Tag Team Champion, her and Bayley did some really good stuff back in the Thunderdome era a couple of years ago, so we'll see where this goes. After all, Sasha and Naomi both are two of the most popular women on the WWE roster, so hopefully that means better storylines are ahead for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Also, really cool that the last time they were in AT&T Stadium for WrestleMania, Snoop Dogg was singing Sasha Banks to the ring, and now that very song is recorded for her to use now as the remix, so that was really awesome. Next up, Edge versus the phenomenal AJ Styles. There are few dream matches left nowadays. If you grew up in the 2000s watching professional wrestling, then you knew Edge was killing it on SmackDown, and AJ Styles was killing it in TNA Wrestling. And even though AJ did finally make it to the WWE, Edge was retired, so we had no idea until 2020 that it was a possibility that these two would collide, and here we are. Also, I really appreciate Edge. You know, Edge is such a legend that if he wanted to, for the rest of his career, he could just coast off the whole rated R superstar gimmick. But he doesn't. Instead, he reinvents himself. I'm loving the whole new darker persona. I really love the new theme song, The Other Side by Alter Bridge. Really cool that he's still using Alter Bridge. And Edge's entrance was fantastic. But when the bell rings, you knew AJ and Edge, you are gonna get 100% grade A professional wrestling, and these two definitely delivered a professional wrestling clinic. There were great transitions, great near falls, great submission maneuvers. These guys were definitely trying to pull out all the stops they could, and so many times nowadays when it comes to professional wrestling, you get so used to seeing finishers being spammed and kicked out of multiple times. These guys didn't even do their finishers until basically close to the end. They instead build up. I really love the psychology, really love the storytelling, enjoyed the match overall, and the finish when AJ Styles goes for the phenomenal forearm, out of nowhere there's Damian Priest. He gets distracted, like what is he doing there? And when he does go for the phenomenal elbow, a picture perfect spear in midair. It was beautiful, especially when they showed it in slow motion, and Edge picks up the win. As I figured he would with this new heel persona, and there had been a lot of talk about it online for reports that Edge was going to start a new faction and it was going to feature Damian Priest. Definitely looking forward to this because what they did with Damian Priest throughout his United States title run, they just made the guy not feel special like he was on NXT. And that's even coming off of that great match he had where he teamed with Bad Bunny last year at WrestleMania. But yeah, this was definitely, as expected, one of the highlights of WrestleMania, and probably, honestly, in terms of just in-ring work, the match of the night. Next match, Ridge Holland and Sheamus with, they call him Butch, but I'm gonna still call him Pete Dunne, versus The New Day, consisting of Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. And of course, Big E, get well soon. So actually, this match was supposed to happen during night 1, but it got cut and was added to night 2. So I'm glad that these guys still got to have their moment. Certainly one of the benefits of having a 2-night WrestleMania, whereas before, if you got cut, that was it, and you had to wait a whole nother year. This match was extremely short. It looks like they've turned Pete Dunne into this unhinged character, so we'll see where it goes, but overall, he just kept interfering, and it got really messy in terms of logic, because it's like, why are you openly trying to assault your team's opponents in the match where the referee could see? So that didn't make much sense, but it was really cool to see the New Day come out and pay tribute to Big E by wearing their gear. But yeah, this was a short match, and in the end, due to the distractions of Pete Dunne, Sheamus and Ridge Holland pick up the victory, as I figured they would, because when you think about the New Day, for nearly a decade, they've been on top as the main tag team. So I understand that they would want to use New Day at this stage to now help the newer talents get over, and I am looking forward to seeing where this group with Sheamus leading it goes. Next up was Austin Theory versus Pat McAfee. Now, if you've seen my NXT TakeOver 30 and NXT War Games 2020 reviews, you know that I have high praise for Pat McAfee because, like I said, this guy gets it, and during the build-up, he was tremendous. He had charisma, the promo skills, and everything that I really enjoyed Austin Theory as well. Basically, his heel work was great too, so this was, believe it or not, one of the matches I was most looking forward to in terms of night 2. So Vince McMahon comes on out, and he's doing, you know, the whole walk that he does. And the crowd is, of course, singing along with, "You've got no chance," dun 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 dun, you know, obviously classic wrestling theme song. It's really cool to see Vince McMahon at 76 years of age walking down to the big, phenomenal, grand stage that he created, WrestleMania. And he ends up actually introducing Austin Theory, stating that he will be a future WWE Universal Champion. Coming out to the theme of Seven Nation Army by the White Strips, and alongside with the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, was Pat McAfee. He had a tremendous entrance and even punt-kicked a football deep into the crowd. When it comes to this match, the crowd was so hyped into it. Pat McAfee controlled the crowd like he was a longtime veteran. It was truly amazing, and that just shows you how charismatic this guy is and just how much his commentary has gotten over with the WWE Universe. And the match, it was very well worked. Austin Theory did his job, fans were booing, Pat McAfee did his for the big comebacks, and he was doing some better stuff here than he was in his match with Adam Cole a couple of years ago. Suplexing, amazing athletic agility from the ground to the top rope. You really even see how much of an effect that he has had on Michael Cole. Michael Cole was super animated through this, rooting for Pat McAfee. You could see him standing up just like Pat McAfee is, rooting for him. So that was really awesome. Truly, Pat McAfee is bringing the best out of Michael Cole. It was a tremendous match. It was fun. Everybody was into it. And in the end, to my surprise, Pat McAfee actually picked up the win by rolling up Austin Theory. Now, I'm not sure if he grabbed the tights, but they didn't show any angle, at least from what I remember. So as far as I know, it was clean. He beat Austin Theory clean, which is something I thought they weren't going to do. Then Vince McMahon, who was sitting at ringside through this whole thing, gets angry, starts looking at Pat McAfee. He takes off his blazer, takes off his shirt, and man, give the man credit. 76-year-old Vince McMahon, still in tremendous shape, and I'll give him this. He certainly still worked the crowd extremely well. And so he gets into the ring and gets the referee in there, rings the bell, and it's official. As we had heard reports for months, Mr. McMahon might be trying to make an in-ring comeback at least for one night at WrestleMania. So it's crazy. Vince McMahon, an impromptu match. Austin got an impromptu main event on night one. Vince McMahon now gets an impromptu match on night two. So it's official. McAfee versus Vince McMahon here at WrestleMania. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if I hear Vince McMahon really wanted to have one last match, because his last match was on October 8th, 2012 on Monday Night Raw against CM Punk. But now, thanks to this match, he can state that his last match was against Pat McAfee at WrestleMania 38 Night 2 on April 1st, 2022. And as you would expect, a 76-year-old Vince McMahon didn't do much. A few clotheslines, a few throws there, and you had Austin Theory constantly interfering before Pat McAfee could really get any offense in on Vince McMahon. And in the end, he ends up throwing a football over to Vince McMahon, who then ends up punt kicking it into the ribs of Pat McAfee. 1, 2, 3. The actual boss joins the boss Sasha Banks in winning his first ever WrestleMania match. That's right, he's fallen to Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Hulk Hogan, and even his own son Shane McMahon. Now Vince can say he won a match at Mania. And I gotta be honest, having watched almost every Vince McMahon match there is, this was probably the worst of them, but he definitely worked the crowd and definitely showed why he is the greatest heel of all time. Mr. McMahon, the greatest villain in professional wrestling history. And you just had to know at this point, there's probably only one man that can come to Pat McAfee's rescue. Insert glass shatter, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. And just like night one, only thing missing is Jim Ross on commentary yelling, "Stone Cold!" Oh man, Stone Cold comes walking out to a huge ovation. It's funny, Triple H, Undertaker, Steve Austin, all the Attitude Era stars were getting to pick pops tonight. But yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin comes down with the BMF walk, gets in the ring, and you already know the history. The greatest rivalry in WWE or even professional wrestling history, McMahon versus Austin. And you see Stone Cold, he's looking over Austin Theory. Austin Theory then tries to attack Stone Cold, and he starts doing those very well worked punches of his, and he hits a Stone Cold stunner on Austin Theory, who does a fantastic job selling it. And then, you know, Vince McMahon, he's getting scared because Stone Cold never took crap from Vince McMahon, but he ends up going ahead, getting the beer, the IPAs, obviously, and drinking it, and we know where this is gonna go. Doesn't take too long. Vince McMahon's like, oh, that's pretty good. But Stone Cold delivers what I want to say is a stunner, but more like a kick to set up the stunner, and Vince goes backwards. And for the first time ever, Stone Cold has to actually pick someone up for the stunner, and then he tries to deliver the stunner on Vince, and Vince ends up falling out of the stunner on the way down to his side, and that's it. Listen, while Steve Austin has definitely delivered some of his most iconic stunners to Vince McMahon, none of them have really been particularly sold very well, outside of probably a handful of times, most notably back in 2018 for the Raw anniversary. And it's very ironic. Very often you'll hear fans associate Donald Trump and Linda McMahon as perhaps two of the worst sellers when it came to the Stone Cold Stunner. And of course, Vince McMahon basically here may have just outdone them. Then Pat McAfee gets in the ring and wants to celebrate with Steve Austin. No doubt an all-time moment. If you watch his podcast, I don't watch it too often, but from what I've seen, he definitely loves with his friends doing the what? And he drinks the beer with Stone Cold, and Austin delivers a stunner to him.
By the way, I freaking lost it when Pat McAfee sold the Stone Cold Stunner by being knocked out, but still, the beer is so good, he's drinking it while knocked out. Freaking fantastic.
And ends up saluting the crowd goodbye. One last great moment for the fans that go crazy over Stone Cold Steve Austin. So despite Vince McMahon's horrible sell of the stunner, it was still a great fun moment. But I didn't think they were going to play too much with Vince McMahon taking these big bumps, given that he is 76 years old.
Also, I wanted to point out that Stone Cold Steve Austin has often stated on his podcast, going back to April 1st, 2001 in Texas for WrestleMania 17. At the end, Stone Cold did bury the hatchet temporarily with Vince McMahon for his now infamous heel turn that you can definitely point probably single-handedly was the first big stop into the decline of WWE's popularity in terms of the mainstream. He says often hindsight being 2020, if he could go back, he would have stunned Vince McMahon right after suckering him in with toasting the beer. Well, fast forward 21 years later, April 2nd, 2022, in Texas at WrestleMania 38. We indeed got that finish with Steve Austin suckering Vince McMahon in with the beer and giving him the Stone Cold Stunner. Well, I guess what can you say other than better late than never. Also, while speaking of WrestleMania 17, WrestleMania 38, according to Bobby the Brain Heenan, marks the time for which Iron Sheik has finally made it to the ring for the Gimmicks Battle Royal. Iron Sheik, an all-time legend, and God bless Bobby the Brain Heenan's soul. That was a classic line from an all-time great WrestleMania.
And now the main event, advertised as the biggest main event of all time in WrestleMania history, the Unification Championship match. WWE Champion Brock Lesnar versus WWE Universal Champion, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. Coming out with the ones, they had this giant CGI Roman Reigns right over the stadium, so that was cool to see. And he even did the acknowledge me, right, for WrestleMania, and a lot of cheers. Definitely, you could tell how far Roman Reigns has come since the last time he was in Dallas, Texas for WrestleMania, getting booed, walking down to the ring. He just has a whole new aura to himself. And then Brock Lesnar, who's been doing some of the best fantastic work of his career too, from a character standpoint, just being himself. That was awesome. Brock comes out, and I will say, this certainly had a big fight feel. The crowd was hyped for this, which definitely made for a better reaction compared to their WrestleMania 34 match, where the crowd just did not give a care. And then the bell rings, and as I stated in the intro, this match did not live up to the hype, and they tried. They were going big. They promised a match where it was like blood for blood, right? That was the whole theme of this. Just these guys are gonna have this big match, and as much as I would like to say that this match was a war, both guys beating the crap out of each other, fighting inside the ring, outside the ring, going through the announce table, blood here, blood there, just brutal spot after brutal spot, and near fall after near fall, and a match that had me on the edge of my seat wondering, oh, did Brock get it there, or is Roman winning here? And finally, maybe hopefully Roman wins clean. I didn't get none of that. Instead, it was just pretty paint-by-number stuff of what we've come to see in these Brock and Roman matches. Spear on the outside through the barricade, Roman spamming spears, Brock Lesnar spamming suplexes, and Brock Lesnar getting the Kimura lock in there, Roman hitting Superman punch after Superman punch, and then eventually, in the end, they have a spot where the referee ends up getting taken out when Roman and Brock both go into him. And it's at this moment that Roman cheats. He basically gives Brock Lesnar a low blow. For some reason, Brock is not wearing a cup after all these storylines. You think he would have learned his lesson through that 2015 feud he had with The Undertaker. Roman then takes the Universal Championship and knocks out Brock. Referee recovers. Brock, of course, kicks out. But it's like, at this point, why can't they just let Roman Reigns win clean? And Roman does eventually get the spear on Brock Lesnar. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Relatively short main event. You have some people in the crowd that is shocked. For me personally, I'm like, boo! Not because Roman Reigns is a heel, but because I just cannot understand the creative process of this. You think after 7 years of this feud, they're not letting Roman Reigns get a victory over Brock Lesnar? We're talking multiple main events here, multiple times that Brock Lesnar has won, multiple WrestleMania main events, 3 in fact, the first men to ever main event WrestleMania 3 times. Roman Reigns, who's gone from this transformation where the fans didn't like him to doing this tribal chief character, getting the fans' respect, truly becoming that #1 guy. They've let Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins get clean victories over Brock Lesnar, so why not Roman Reigns? They've been building him as the top guy, and so I just don't understand why they don't do it. And yeah, I understand that some people might feel that, hey, Roman Reigns is a heel, of course, that's what he's going to do, but that didn't stop them from having Brock Lesnar as a heel go through some of their most top talent. That didn't stop them from having Roman Reigns as a heel beat some of their top guys. So there's no reason why I don't see that Roman Reigns can't get a 100% clean victory over Brock Lesnar. However, regardless of it being clean or dirty, Brock Lesnar losing and Roman Reigns winning was no doubt the right, correct outcome. But aside from that, I look at this match and man, this disappointed as a main event for WrestleMania. It seems Brock and Roman have not been able to outdo their first match at WrestleMania 31. It seemed to peak there. I gotta be honest, and I have no more interest in seeing Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns wrestle, because if this is all we're gonna get, basically where we're just seeing the signature and finishing moves spam throughout the match, and Roman Reigns not gonna get that victory unless he wins clean, then I honestly got nothing more left to get invested into this match. And knowing WWE, this feud will still continue over and over and over and over. So this is probably not the last match we're going to see of them, but at this point, I don't know what else can be done. If this is the best that they can do, the best WWE creatively can come up with for Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, then I don't know where else to go for this match. I mean, seriously, remember WrestleMania 34? They had Roman Reigns get a brutal, bloody beatdown, and it took like 6 or 7 F5s for Brock Lesnar to even put Roman away, and they haven't even gone back to that in their last 2 matches. And I just don't understand, like, if there was a time, Roman should have beaten Brock Lesnar maybe this time to a bloody pulp. Give him back for what you did at WrestleMania 34. He even mentioned it in his promo on Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania, and they didn't go there. If there was ever a time for Brock Lesnar to take that brutal beatdown, it would have been against Roman Reigns. Brock Lesnar's attraction, so you just can't have any old body basically doing that, especially when you look at the history. But if Roman Reigns is the top guy, that's what I would love to see him booked as. But when it comes to the WWE, like I always say, they're making so much guaranteed money, they can book this however the way they want to, and it is what it is. But at this point, at least Roman Reigns is walking out the undisputed WWE Universal World Heavyweight Champion. Gotta throw up the ones. Overall, I thought the match was okay, but certainly it underdelivered hugely for a WrestleMania main event. Now it's just a matter of seeing where the WWE goes from here, because like I said in the Night 1 review, they can't rely on Stone Cold Steve Austin. They obviously can no longer rely on The Undertaker or Triple H. So now it's time to build up some new stars, and let's see where they go. I hope they do build up a young new superstar that can be the one to dethrone him either at the 2-year mark or 1,000-day mark. But as much as I'm loving this title reign from Roman, WWE is really playing with fire by putting all their eggs into the Roman Reigns basket. Hint, look at 2000. Where would this company have been when Stone Cold Steve Austin went down if they didn't build up The Rock and Triple H? Now, while I did enjoy Night 1 better, I will say Night 2 held its own, and Night 1 and 2 combined made for what I thought was an overall pretty fun WrestleMania, even with the main event under-delivering. Now, if you'd like to see more of my WWE reviews, check out the playlist right there on the screen, and check out my other screen acting, voice acting, and filmmaking related content in the playlist right there. Don't forget to comment what you thought about the show, and remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you are notified when I release new content.